Dear Catherine, your addiction has affected our lives negatively in the following ways. It's tearing our family apart. All I hear is shouting and screaming and crying. I'm tired of wondering if you're out walking the streets passed out on someone's lawn or worse. I'm tired of finding money missing from my
wallet. I'm tired of the lies. You are not the Catherine we know. We want the Catherine we know to come back to us. We stay up late to all hours, waiting, wondering, praying that you'll
come home. We love you, Catherine.
I'm sorry.
Hello and welcome to We Talks, where we talk a wee bit about simple ways to improve relationships and foster connection with the people closest to us. I'm your host, Steve Monroe. I'm an actor and also a licensed marriage and family therapist. Today we're going to talk a wee bit about addiction, how it is a barrier to authentic connection, and how to recognize addiction in yourself or others. We use puppets to illustrate our points, but in no way do we intend to minimize the pain of addiction. There are 7 traits common to addiction. Number 1, addiction is a disease that tells you you don't have a disease. Number 2, addiction can come in multiple forms and is a progressive illness. Number 3, addiction removes one's power of choice. Number 4, people struggling with addiction can have a high or low bottom. Number 5, addiction can be a form of self-medicating an underlying illness. Number 6, addiction is an inauthentic, counterfeit connection to a substance or behavior. And number 7, the opposite of addiction is connection. Number 1, addiction is a disease that tells you you don't have a disease. This is what makes addiction so difficult to accept. People struggling rationalize, well, how can something that feels so good be so bad for me? The weed or the cocaine, the shopping, the porn, the gambling, well, these seem to fill what is otherwise an overwhelming feeling of emptiness, like a hole inside of me. These are the messages of addiction. And these messages fuel what is a powerful obstacle to recovery called denial. Denial works very hard to tell a person that they're fine and that they'd be even better with more. Number 2, addiction can come in multiple forms and is a progressive illness. More alcohol, more cocaine, or shopping, or food, or sex. A person can use many different substances or behaviors, or mix them and become what's called cross-addicted. Cross-addiction means that when a person stops one behavior or substance, they simply substitute with a different behavior or substance and become addicted again. More becomes never enough. More of a substance or behavior become necessary to fill that hole and achieve the same high. This is what makes addiction a progressive illness. Addiction does push-ups, getting stronger over time. This leads me to my third point. Number 3, addiction removes one's power of choice. The Latin root for addiction is addico and evolved from the word slave. Historically, Roman soldiers were awarded slaves for performing well in battle. These slaves were known as addicts. Eventually, the term was extended to include a person who was a slave to anything. The progressive nature of the illness means that over time, addiction takes charge and removes one's power of choice. A person struggling with addiction can often find him or herself engaging in behaviors contrary to their values to obtain more of their drug of choice or a still higher high.
I feel sad. I'm jonesing hard.
You feel you need a fix. I'm glad you called, Kat. You decided to talk it out instead of act it out.
Yes.
You mentioned your addiction got worse. Tell me, Kat, with what did your cravings, your addiction, if you will, begin?
Kibble, then milk, bowl after bowl of fresh milk, with 2%, then straight up half and half, then flavored creamers, crack cocaine. Then I would go to casinos and gamble. I lost control. The addiction was driving the bus and not the cat. I want to drive the bus again.
Number 4. People struggling with addiction can have a high or low bottom. A bottom refers to the very worst an addiction gets in a person. For some people, their lives don't have to get too bad before they admit to having a problem and reaching out for help. Such people have what's called a high bottom. For others, things get real bad. They suffer a lot of money troubles, legal problems, lost loved ones, and often tragically, death buried in the ground. These people have what is called a low bottom. I say you hit bottom when you stop digging. Number 5. Addiction can be a form of self-medicating an underlying illness. Many people who struggle with addiction are often what's called dually diagnosed. This means that their addiction is inadvertently serving to treat an underlying illness. People can use substances or behaviors to treat pain that stems from anxiety or depression or schizophrenia or any number of other conditions. Number 6. Addiction is an inauthentic, counterfeit form of connection. People can and often do connect to substances or behaviors as a substitute for healthy connection with healthy people or as a substitute for connection with God, depending on a person's faith. Number 7. The opposite of addiction is connection. I strongly believe in making a clear distinction between a person and their addiction. I don't believe in the label addict. A person is much more than their addiction and not defined by it, and as such they are not to be blamed or judged, as so often happens. I don't sit in judgment. I wouldn't be effective if I did. The disease of addiction is to be blamed. Addiction can swoop in to inadvertently treat pain. It can become what some refer to as a false idol and eventually cease to work. Addiction can be an attempt to fill what is actually a God-shaped hole. Such pain can really only be effectively treated and healed through authentic connection with safe people and, depending upon a person's faith, with God. We are relational beings. Our deepest desire to be seen, to be heard, to be known. People who seek recovery from addiction seek to shed the shame and isolation that comes with addiction and to connect. If you or someone you know is struggling from the pain of addiction, here are some resources that can help. On the next We talk a wee bit about the effects of addiction on families and loved ones as we meet and talk with Catherine's boyfriend, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Until we talk again, I'm your host, Stephen Monroe, and you can find me at stephenmonroe.net. Thank you and take good care.